You have the opportunity to get 70% off our normal annual membership. Just check below to see how to sign up today. What you think is a really strong grip and in your fingers. You almost can't get it too strong. Okay, and then the whole concept here is we're going shut, which isn't shut. Actually, that club face relative to your swing arc is at a 90-degree angle. Then it goes up here, and then when it comes down, you're feeling this. You feel where your right hand is?
Yes.
And then when you hit it, and your right hand goes this way. So take your hand off the club, set up here. Here's what your right hand does. It goes back like this. It goes up here. I'll start down, slow, okay? You feel that?
Yes.
That's where we got to get your right hand. Now, if you just keep going and I let your fingers go and you let your wrist just go, relax your wrist. There you go. Just go with your hand, go. That's what your swing should feel like. Go. You feel how it's throwing? Go. And now just unwind your body as you throw. You see what your hand's doing?
Yeah, it points at the target.
Well, plus go. What your arm isn't doing is it's not doing this.
Not turning.
You're throwing. Go.
Yes.
There you go. So, here we go. Put your left hand on there. What you think is really strong and in your fingers. You're going to feel like the face shuts going back so that your right palm's facing the ground or the club face. Yeah, there you go. Oops, I got it. Right palm faces the ground. Right palm faces the ground. Then you're coming right back to there and then feel like you're throwing. There's no twist. All right, so hit pretty solid, hooked a little bit. So what did you do a little of?
Turn my hands.
You've been doing it, how long have you been playing?
Since I was 6.
Okay. So we've had a lot of this going on.
Yes.
And you got pretty damn good. But here's the problem, with all that face rotation, unless you're playing every single day and hitting a lot of balls, you're gonna go out and play 10, 11, 12 holes like a scratch. You're gonna play 2 or 3 holes like a 12 or 15. You're gonna play 2 or 3 holes like a 25.
Yes.
And you're going, if I could just get rid of those 2 or 3 holes, the timings, you're gonna hit it all. You're gonna hit a couple that go like this every time you play. The good days is when that happens, it hits a tree and drops in play. And the bad days, it's out of bounds or in a lake. Do that again. So what you think is a really strong grip, 3 or 4 knuckles. Then all you're gonna feel is your right hand faces the ground. You feel like the face shuts and then it opens coming through. Shut to open. And all you gotta do is start doing that and get a feel for how your hands work with it. Exactly. There you go, come down. That's what you're doing. That's pretty simple.
Yeah.
Okay, you played baseball?
Yes.
When you throw a ball, would it make any sense to take a ball, and if I was gonna throw a ball, would it make any sense for me to take this back and go and twist my wrist like this and then try to twist my wrist that way?
None.
You'd go, why are you doing that? Well, I could ask the same question when you're doing this. Why are you doing all this twisting in your wrist?
I learned to compensate.
Well, and you learn toe up, hold the angle, all that kind of stuff. So whether you're shooting a basketball or throwing a baseball or hitting a golf ball, your right hand's working like that. It's a throw.
Yeah.
More than it is a twist.
Yes.
You've learned to play weak grip, open the face, get your right here, and then try to time the twist.
Yeah.
Well, it won't take you long if this hand fixes for this hand to start to feel that where you hit and then it throws like this and you got a lot of speed with no face rotation. That's a nice combination. Okay, hit another one. What you think is really strong, you can't get it too strong. And when you take the club away, you're gonna shut the face, feel like you shut it and aim it at the ball and then open it coming through. And all of a sudden, and the ball starts going dead straight all the time. And you're going, I don't even feel like I'm doing anything with my hands. All right, here's where these guys start talking quiet hands. Because they're not having to rotate and catch the face up, that your hands feel like they're not doing much. They're still doing a lot, they're just not having to do this. See, that's made golf, that's a way to play, but that's made golf so hard for most people to get consistent that all of that twist to time it absolutely perfectly and time all that face rotation to hit the ball correctly is really, really hard. If you're enjoying this video, go to the description below to see how to join Malaska Mail mailing list. So not only when you join the Malaska mailing list, you get a tremendous amount of content, but you get a downloadable video specific to this information that we just talked about that's gonna make it even more relevant for you. I'm gonna do a drill here, and the drill is a bit of an exaggeration. The reason it's an exaggeration is this is what you actually have to feel like you're doing to get the club to do what it's supposed to do, okay? The problem is people look at golf swings, you look at your swing, people put it on a video, and you see a position that's not right, and you try to recreate the position. So if all of a sudden, you know, you're coming down, people say, well, my position's off here, I need to be here. So then they start trying to make the club go there. Well, that position happens because of a lot of other things. The biggest problem people have, and what you have in your swing, is you get up to the top, and when you start down, the handle goes this way. So you pull and drag the handle a little, and the weight of the club starts to fall behind you, just a little bit. When that happens and it pushes your hands out here, now your brain's going, uh-oh, something's got to happen here or I'm going to miss the ball. So everything kind of stops, and then you catch up with your hands. All right, so here's what you actually have to feel. This is what it feels like you do. You go back, you start down, and the handle of the club comes down, and now the weight of the club, you're tipping this club shaft. It's staying right in front of your right shoulder, right in line with your right shoulder, and right in front of your chest, all the way around. So the swing has to feel like you're doing this. If the club goes this way at all, and then you try to see, now you've lost the weight of the club and you're catching it up. So you've got to be able to get the momentum of the club out here so that it just floats around with you. If there's any handle drag and the club falls behind you, then you're going to have to catch it up. Okay, so I want you to stand there. So you go up. The handle comes down. Now the shaft gets right even with your chest, and it goes around like this. That's your golf swing. Now if it does that, what does your hands feel like they did?
Nothing.
Virtually nothing. They feel very quiet, right? So when people say you want quiet hands, what that really means is you want the momentum of the club in the right arc so your hands don't have to do much to catch it up.
Okay.
That's what it means. It doesn't mean you don't use them. Now what happens if you get up here, and let's say the club gets over there, and you start down and the club goes like this? What are you going to have to do?
Catch it up.
Right. Yeah. So the less we have to catch up, the easier it is to play. Okay. So the club goes up, the handle comes down, and the shaft works out in front of you like that. Okay. And when you're doing this drill, the club head stays above your hands.
Okay.
Okay? So you don't ever want to let the club head, it can't drop here. The handle's got to come down, and the shaft works like that, right in front of your right shoulder. So the other thing you can't do is start down and twist your right shoulder this way. This shaft has to work right there, so it's right in front of your right shoulder, right even with your chest. That's the feeling. Okay, let me see you do it. There you go. That's perfect. The handle comes. There's your golf swing. That's it. Okay. Now do it again. Now feel what's going to happen, the difference here. If you go there, and if the club's over here, if the first thing you do when you start down is that the club, see, now it's behind your hands. Now what are you going to have to do? You have to flip it to catch it up. Hands come down, and it just, there's your golf swing.
Simple.
It is simple, and the better it works, it starts to feel like you get right there, you get right here, and it feels like the club just floats through the air and you're just going along for the ride.
Okay.
This feels very effortless. Okay. So the key is that you get it started here correctly. Once you get the momentum of the club, then all you're doing is you're just going along for the ride.
Okay.
And the weight of the club head, the momentum of the club head, will make the club get to the ball and go back up. You don't have to make your wrists unhinged. They will do it automatically. If you're enjoying this player lesson, you might consider joining our annual membership. Then you get access to the entire lesson. Plus, then you can see how I apply the M system to these players and how the M system is going to help you with whatever you're doing in your game. Well, here's one thing I've learned is, you kind of break it down into small movement patterns and then you develop the whole thing.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of misconceptions out there, or words that confuse people, like clear your hips, turn your hips. See, turn in my world is an effect. Your body works in straight line forces. So the more you can have those straight line forces working, the easier it is for your neurological system to do it.
Yeah.
Turn is an effect of what your pelvis and what your joints do.
Okay.
Okay, so when somebody stands there and they say they're going to turn, that isn't what you're trying to do. Yeah, you want your pelvis to rotate, but the way I do it is in a straight line force. So if I'm looking at this camera here, the first thing I want to get people to do, as soon as they start to pivot their body, and then this is critical because most everybody moves up into the ball.
Me too, yeah.
Okay, so I'm standing here with just my right arm. If I was going to hit a little chip shot and pitch shot, and I'm going to pivot at all, here's what happens. As the club's coming down into the ball, my left leg pushes my left hip socket back.
Yeah.
So this leg is just pushing this hip socket back as the club goes through the ball. So I'm just, boom, right through the ball. So this hip gets pushed further away from the ball than it started. Now, what most people do, even when they start here, they go back, this hip stops, and they try to rotate their pelvis.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, this hip, they feel like they're turning their hips, but their hips are turning closer to the ball. So this left leg has to learn, as the club comes through the ball, to push this hip socket, just pushes it back. And then you time those two together, boom. That's how you hit the ball. And that has to happen with a driver.
Gotcha.
So it starts with these little wedges. Now, Tiger just made a comment about the worst thing that can happen in a golf swing is for the rotation of your body to get ahead of the club.
Yeah.
I've talked to Jack for 35 years, and he talks about getting out of the way. And when you start down, the club runs into the ball, and you just get out of the way of the club.
Yep.
Okay, these guys were pretty good players.
They did okay, yeah.
So they're not trying to start down with a twist.
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, that little motion where you go back and you hit, and as the club goes through the ball, your left leg pushes your left hip out of the way.
Got it.
Because if I went set up and I went to my impact position, when I go to impact, what's happened?
Yeah.
My left leg has pushed my left hip out of the way.
Yep.
So my hip is further away from the ball than it was when I started.
Got it.
So once people start to feel that, then as they start down, their left leg pushes their left hip out of the way. Okay, so here's what we're going to do.
Yep.
We're going to make a practice swing first. So we got a 7-iron, but we're going to hit it like a pitch shot.
Okay.
So you go up, you swing up. Now as you come down, as the club's going through the ball, your left leg has to push your left hip out of the way.
Got it, okay.
Do it again, just a little practice swing. That's how far your left hip has to get pushed back.
Got it.
So your weight now is going, or force is going into your left heel.
Yes.
Okay, so now set up to the ball, and we just get a little chip shot.
Sure.
And I'm going to make your hip do what it's supposed to do.
Okay, a little one, here we
As
go.
the club goes through the ball, that's how far back you feel how far back your hip's going?
Yeah, big time.
Okay.
Feels good.
But that's not exaggerated. See, people, they're not used to feeling this.
Yeah.
Now, to tell somebody, like I say, turn or clear your hips doesn't get it.
Gotcha.
Your brain, your body doesn't really understand that. And when you say get out of the way, people start trying to get out of the way this way. It's really not getting out of the way. If you feel this force, push, push. And all you're trying to do is push this hip socket back. It's not straighten your left leg. Because look, I can go here, I can straighten my left leg and my hip didn't do anything.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of people are trying to go like this and straighten their left leg. It's not doing anything to their hip.
Yeah.
In fact, you want this leg to stay flexed because that's where now you're pushing up through the ground to push that hip back.
Got it, okay.
Exactly. So now if you're watching me from behind me, what happens is I go back when I start down, as soon as force hits this leg, boom, as soon as force hits this leg, This leg is then pushing this hip socket out of the way. So this hip socket never gets past that foot.
Gotcha.
So people who struggle with
Yeah.
slide,
Yeah.
that's because you've been trying to get up to your left side instead of get into your left side. So you put pressure in your left foot and then you push your hip back.
Yeah.
If my hip moves back, what does this hip do? It moves forward.
yeah.
What did my pelvis just do? It rotated, not because I'm trying to turn.
Yeah.
And the other thing, when I push this hip back, my pelvis rotates, there's no pressure on my lower lumbar spine.
Yeah.
If I go here and I try to twist my hips, that's all lower lumbar spine.
Got it.
The more you can move and put the least amount of pressure you can put on your lower lumbar spine, the better off you are, because it's not designed to rotate.
Yeah.
It's a non-rotational segment. Now it can rotate a little, but you start putting force in your lower lumbar spine, you're asking for injury.
Yeah.
My hips turn, not because I'm trying to turn them.
That's
because
a byproduct.
It's a byproduct of pushing your joints out of the way.
Got it.
Push my right hip out of the way, it looks like my hips turn.
Yeah.
Push my left hip out of the way, it looks like my hips turn. But I didn't feel any torque or any turn.